The silence in the council chamber was not merely an absence of sound. It was a physical weight, pressing down on the lungs of every delegate present. Moments ago, Ambassador Trell had been shouting threats. Now he lay crumpled on the polished floor, his chitinous armor smoking from a puncture wound that defied all modern understanding. I, Krell, stared at the scene, my tentacles curling in an involuntary spasm of shock. Across the room, the human delegation sat with a terrifying stillness. They had not moved, they had not raised a hand, yet their weapon had done the work from 50 meters away. What manner of sorcery is this? High Counselor Vaughn stammered, his 6 eyes darting frantically between the fallen ambassador and the calm, impassive faces of the humans. Captain Alina Cross, the leader of the human contingent, rose slowly. In her hands, she held an object that seemed pulled from a museum display, an arc of carved wood and bent metal, a string pulled taut between curved arms. There was no hum of plasma, no whine of charging capacitors. "No sorcery, Counselor," Alina said, her voice carrying a peculiar, chilling mix of politeness and menace. "Just physics, very old physics. It is a moment that reminds one of the ancient stories of Earth, where the simplest tools toppled empires because they were wielded by the most desperate hands." She began to explain how we arrived at this precipice. When humanity petitioned for membership, the Assembly viewed them as backward. The Treaty of Harmonious Stars, drafted 12 millennia ago, was explicit. All member species must surrender their projectile weapons. We believed we were civilizing them. We stripped them of their guns, their missiles, their chemical propellants, celebrating their conversion to the path of enlightenment. We were fools. We forgot that humanity had spent 200,000 years mastering the art of death before they ever discovered gunpowder. Alina recounted the precedent set on the mining colony of Vespar 9, where a security officer named Thomas Reed stopped a smuggler with a longbow. The Assembly had debated it then, concluding that while primitive, a bow utilized simple mechanical tension, not the banned chemical explosives. Vaughn's skin shifted to a distressed pale yellow as his security team advanced with plasma rifles. "I wouldn't recommend that," Alina warned, her tone even. "When you outlawed guns, you created an interesting problem. We had to get creative." Suddenly, the threat became visible. Every human in the room revealed similar devices: compact crossbows, recurve bows, weapons of silence and steel. "Section 12, paragraph 7, Alina recited from memory as she tossed a datapad to Vaughn. "Prohibited weapons include firearms utilizing chemical propellants. Nowhere does it mention mechanically powered projectile systems." It was a loophole wide enough to drive a starship through, weaponized by a species that refused to be defenseless. Vaughn argued about the spirit of the law, but Alina countered with the brutality of non-lethal suppressions she had witnessed. "You wanted our guns." "We gave them up," she said, her eyes sharp, forward-facing, predatory. "But being human means we adapt, we overcome." To prove her point, she turned toward a tapestry hanging on the far wall. With a fluidity born of countless hours of discipline, she drew the string to her cheek. The release was a whisper, but the impact was a thunderclap. The arrow buried itself 3 centimeters into solid granite, terrifyingly accurate. "Silent, reusable, crafted from sticks and stones if necessary," she told the trembling counselor. "We are survivors. You can work with us or against us, but you cannot disarm us." As Trell was carried out, vowing revenge, Alina simply smiled. The humans left the chamber not as a subdued client species, but as a pack of wolves returning to their den. Vaughn looked at me, defeat etched into his features. "They are going to win," he whispered. "We took their guns and thought we neutered them. Instead, we reminded them they are apex predators." 6 months later, seeking to understand this transformation, I found myself aboard the human ship Ranger Asterisk, bound for the outer fringe. I was introduced to Commander Jack Reeves, a man with sun-weathered skin and keen eyes, who showed me the industrial evolution of their primitive tools. He handed me a Titan Mark VII compound bow, a marvel of engineering with a 120-pound draw weight, reduced to a fraction by cam systems. "Give a man a fish, he eats for a day," Jack quoted, a piece of human wisdom that resonates with the universal struggle for self-sufficiency. "Guns are fish, they need factories, supply chains, but bows are fishing, we can make them anywhere." They had ballistas, repeating crossbows, and arrows tipped with shaped charges. "Technically compliant," Jack grinned. "The arrow is mechanical, the explosive is just payload. The test of their resolve came swiftly in the form of 3 Clarvian pirate vessels blocking our orbit above a colony world. The Clarvians, used to bullying unarmed transports, demanded surrender. Elena's response was immediate and visceral. "We do not start fights, but we finish them." The Asterisk Ranger did not flee, it charged. Utilizing the ship's small profile, they closed the distance to under 500 meters, negating the pirates' long-range plasma advantage. Then, they unleashed a storm. Retractable ballistas fired diamond-tipped bolts designed to shear through hull plating and destroy sensors. When the pirates boarded, expecting easy prey, they stepped into a slaughterhouse. The corridors of the Asterisk Ranger became a killing ground. Clarvian armor, designed to disperse energy and heat, was useless against the kinetic force of carbon fiber projectiles traveling at 300 feet per second. Crossbows snapped from the shadows, pinning armored boarders to bulkheads. Explosive tips detonated with surgical precision. It was a chaotic, brutal ballet of old-world violence meeting high-tech arrogance. In the engineering bay, humans collapsed a ceiling on the invaders, a structural failure that conveniently crushed the threat. Within 15 minutes, the pirates were retreating, dragging their dead. Elena hailed their commander, a scarred Clarvian now eyeing them with fear. "Transmit a full report," she ordered, cold and absolute. "Tell the galaxy that humans are not soft targets. Tell them we weaponized physics." We landed on the planet, and I watched a settlement spring up with frightening speed. But it was the children that struck me most. I watched a 12-year-old girl draw a training bow and strike a target 30 meters away with casual ease. "We train them to defend themselves," their instructor told me, "so they are never helpless." It was a cultural shift, a return to a harder, more primal state of existence. They were building a society where the monopoly on violence was distributed to every individual with the will to hold a string. My final report to Counselor Vaughn was grim. I wrote that humanity could not be controlled because they did not rely on the systems we controlled. Banning their mechanical weapons would only force them to invent something worse. Vaughn read it with the exhaustion of a man watching the tide come in. "The age of assembly dominance is ending," he admitted. "The age of human influence is just beginning." He was right. When the assembly voted to ban mechanical weapons, the measure failed. 43 species, inspired by humanity's stand for independence, voted against it. Elena Cross was appointed ambassador. She arrived at her inauguration with a ceremonial bow strapped to her back, a symbol that screamed of a new order. We had outlawed firearms hoping to create peace, but we had inadvertently stripped away the veneer of technology to reveal the indomitable spirit beneath. Humanity had proven that civilization does not require weakness. As I watched her take the oath, I realized the galaxy had changed irrevocably. The age of guns was over, lost to the annals of history. The age of steel and string had begun, and as they stood there, armed and unbowed, I knew the galaxy would never underestimate them again.